Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. I got my guy DJ Shuttle in the building. What's good?
Yeah.
Yo, it's been a minute. You know what I mean? It's been a minute. I had to make some moves, literally make a move. Got that all done in the middle of a 11 day straight work week. You know what I mean? Doing that in between working and moving, working and moving. Then I had 3 days off. I got to enjoy the last two games, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, come back to the pod because I missed the pod. So I miss you guys. So shout out to everybody tuning in. Shout out to you, Shuttle, for jumping on with me.
Yes, sir. I
But
was
we
up.
here.
I was actually up north in Poughkeepsie this weekend. I had a gig on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
big
familiar.
things.
I'm familiar with Poughkeepsie, right outside the city.
Yeah. I didn't realize in my mind until you hit me to come on with you. I was like, oh, I don't think I was that far from home.
Nah. It's just it's still would have been about four 3 hours, about
Oh,
3 hours still.
that ain't close.
You know what I mean? Oh, got the Podfather in the building on the comeback.
Yeah, it's good.
That's good, Sim.
Chilling.
Appreciate you jumping in as always. But yeah, let's get right into this thing, man. It's been a minute. I haven't been on any shows. Sim, I don't know if you did post game shows the past two games,
Yeah,
I
not the past two games, but last week.
yeah, I didn't. I was in the middle of a move, so I'm definitely happy to be back. And things should be back on schedule, Sim. So you know what I mean. I'm right there with you with the post games
Yep,
and all that.
that's what's up.
50 wins. The Knicks did it back to back years, 50 plus wins. I say plus because we're not done. You know what I mean? But 50 win seasons back to back years. First time since what, 95? 90. Yeah, I want to say 95.
95.
30,
Yeah,
30 years.
crazy.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to get into the whole Tom Thibodeau spiel, but I'm just going to give some acknowledgement, you know what I mean, to the success that he has brought, the success that Leon Rose has brought. You know what I mean? The change in the regime has really been a change in the culture,
Hmm.
change in everything for this organization.
Hmm.
We were in the dog days for how many years? You know what I mean? And it didn't seem like we could get out of it. And I think even if you don't like Tom Thibodeau, even if you're not the biggest fan of the front office or whatever, you got to give the acknowledgement of the success that they have brought to this organization because we haven't seen it in so long.
Right.
So I definitely want to start with that, and big kudos to the Knicks for hitting this milestone again. You know what I mean? Like that's no small task.
And setting new expectations.
Hmm.
Absolutely, new standards. Absolutely. Uh, the captain's back. You know what I mean? We first game back. We talked about him when he went down, and the expectations for the majority of us was 500 would have been acceptable for most of us. You know what I mean? When we talked about it, we ended up exceeding that. I think we were like 9-6 or somewhere around there. Um, let's start there. You know what I mean? Like, what did you guys see in Brunson's absence that stood out to you? That maybe you hope can move forward in his return and into the playoffs. Um, I mean, because I think there's so many different areas. You know, we could go through them individually, but I'll start with Deron Wright. You know what I mean, and then we could just go around and name some things. But to go from not playing, you know what I mean, and then insert it into the starting lineup, I think he held that position strong. It surprised me with his shooting because I didn't think that was something that was part of his repertoire. I knew he was a defender. I knew he had the size at the point guard position, which was an advantage. But I think he took advantage of that opportunity, and then that is another segue into that mentality that it takes to succeed under Tom Thibodeau. You know what I mean? And staying ready and being ready for the moment and not being down and things of that nature. But that was the first thing I want to just point out. But there's so many things. Sim, what name something that stood out to you during this stretch without Brunson, and we'll move around the table.
And the biggest thing for me is OG. That's the biggest thing for me. Back when Brunson got hurt, we had a discussion about who would step up,
Mm-hmm.
and OG was who I thought would step up. I thought he'd step up and you know, and kind of take that scoring mantle next to Cat, and I think he's done that. You know what I mean? And I think he's proven to the fans. I think he's proven to maybe even himself, and proven to the team that you got to make room for him to be that third scorer out there. You know what I'm saying? Because I think with his size, right now it looks like his mentality. He's a better scorer than Bridges. You know what I'm saying? Because he can bully his way to the basket if he needs to, and Bridges can't do that. You know what I mean? Bridges might have a little bit more finesse, but I don't know if he has the same mentality to say, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a scorer." And then when defense is locked down, I don't think he has the body to be able to just bull his way to the basket if need be. And OG's proven right now that he can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to see that continue. I want to see Tom Thibodeau make more room for Brunson for OG in the offense. So it doesn't have to be Brunson, dribbling the air out the ball. You know what I mean? He can step to the side and let OG go to the basket. You know what I mean? And collapse the defense. Now OG's not going to be as good at kicking the ball out as Brunson. You know what I'm saying? But he's been able to he's been able to get to the line. He's been able to dunk on people. He's been able to create some havoc. So I want to see that continue.
Yeah, my mindset switch is, it seems like, and he's been talking about just being aggressive being the biggest change in him during this stretch. Um, I agree. We had that conversation. You definitely said OG, so shout out to you for that. I thought Mikal was going to be the guy to kind of step up. Not to say that he hasn't in the absence, because he has, but not to the level of OG. But yeah, kudos to OG for sure. I mean, he's stepping up as a legit third option. All year people were talking about Austin Reeves and who's the best third option in the league, and I think he might have just taken over that conversation if people start to think about it. You know what I mean? Especially his impact on both ends. Shuttle. Name something that stood out to you, and we could keep going around until we out of things, because I feel like there's so much that potentially stood out during the stretch.
I don't recall which show was. It had to be one of the two, or maybe Steph. But I absolutely said OG can go to another level, and let's see what happens. And I mean, like, he's clearly gone to another level. And for me though, what I looked at as what has transpired that could be potentially impacting the playoffs, which is what you specifically mentioned, right? For me, like, I haven't forgot campaigns, playoff performance against the Knicks last season. But right now, I think I'd rather put him and Deuce in the backcourt in the second unit. And I'm kind of like right now, like, I need to sit campaign down. And
So you're saying right?
yeah, I'm saying I think I would put right in the second unit over campaign at this point, going into the playoffs. And when I look at his defense and Deuce's defense together, I'm like, oh man, like yo, that's a second unit of terror that your backups probably are gonna Like this is where you could either expand the lead, shrink a deficit when you put in players like that can really put the muscle on a backup backcourt. And I also feel like that his ball handling is definitely, I feel a little more trustworthy with him bringing the ball up and controlling it versus campaign. And we know we can't really depend on Deuce to bring the ball up. So, you know, just, the size he brings, the ability to switch as necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that he's underrated, man. And I look back at his playoff performance last year. He played significant minutes in the playoff game and in the season last year, and he did pretty well. So I don't think he'll be shy at a big moment, and that's kind of just my biggest takeaway as it could be potentially impacting the playoffs.
Um, Sim, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Deron Wright's performance in Brunson's absence in the short stretch, and how you feel about what Shuttle just said? But let me just acknowledge Paris Duggar. Appreciate you for the super chat. He said, "I hate to be a killjoy, but 50 wins was expected. Celebrating 50 is cap. Last year's team wins 50. Last year's team win 58 this year. We made moves. I guess saying you should have won 58 this year. We made moves. Can't sit here and cap for
No,
50."
he's
Oh,
saying that if the team came back as it was
oh,
last year's team would have won 58 this year.
Okay. But
oh,
but are you assuming that last year's team everybody stayed healthy? Do you win 58 if Brunson goes out for
a month.
a
And,
month?
and, and here's, you
And
know,
Mitch misses
And
60
Mitch
games.
and this is one of my segments. So we're gonna jump right back into it. But yeah, that's the biggest thing about it. Like Mitch, look, 60 games not played. Shamit, 40 games not played. Uh, Precious, 20 plus games not played. Brunson missed a month. And for me, the celebration is just how far we've come as an organization. It wasn't specifically about the 50. It was the 50 in combination with it being back-to-back years and that not being accomplished
Yeah.
for us in so long. So my prediction was 56, one of the higher predictions for it. So we're not even capable of hitting that mark. But that does not mean 50 wins this year should not be celebrated.
Not when it's 2 years in a row. And I listen, I'm not even gonna lie. I love the way last year's team with the addition of Mikal Bridges, I love the way that would have looked this year. I'm not gonna lie. But I also feel like that team, 58 wins, and I feel like that team would have reached
Ceiling.
its ceiling. I think this team has a higher ceiling when you add more pieces to it. So it's not complete. It's not finished. I feel like that team was more of a finished product than this team is. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this team, if fully healthy, probably would have reached 56 to 58 wins if healthy all season long. And this is the first year this particular team is together. So, there's a lot of growth to be had with this basketball team. And I think 50 wins in 2 years, 2 years in a row, 50 wins, it's going to be 50 plus wins for the most part. That's an accomplishment.
And respectfully, Mr. Paris Duggar, every season is a new season.
Exactly.
There is absolutely no team in the entire NBA that brought back the exact same team. They also have something called free agency, where a player by the name of iHeart left the team and we couldn't bring him back. So we couldn't have had the same team. The team you lose iHeart and now you have an injured Mitch missing 60 games. And you're gonna start what? Precious Achua at center with Randall? That's what you would have did. So, woulda, shoulda, coulda, hypotheticals, I get it. But we had the team that we had this year. And yeah, like Tone said, it's not just about the 50 this year. It's really recognizing the horrible team year after year that we supported, and now we've come to a place where we can win back to back 50 and feel confident for the next 3-4 seasons. This is a 50-win team
Yeah.
going forward. And that level of stability, consistency, reliability that we can count on and feel like, yo, we got a shot for real, for real. We ain't even think about the lottery. We can't even put together a draft party because we ain't hype about the draft pick. You
Uh,
understand what I'm saying? So like we gotta cherish this back to back 50 and keep looking forward. Parrish, you
I
heard?
mean, it goes deeper than this. And Parrish, I know you can contest because you've been a Knicks fan for years, so I know your day to day life is different, right? When you interact with your family members like I do that aren't Knicks fans, the conversations are a little bit different now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to hear that you still supporting the team is a little different now. It's not, you support that bum ass, you know what I mean? You giving James Dolan your money. Now it's like, y'all got a chance. Yo, I like what you're doing. Yo, this guy's, you know what I mean? The day-to-day life is different when the Knicks is winning. At least
Word.
for me.
Word. Nah,
Big
that's the
fact.
truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah. So Dylan Wright,
Yeah.
I was impressed, to be honest with you. When Cam went out, I did think that Kolek was going to start because he's a point guard. I was waiting to see what Tom Thibodeau was he going to go with offense or was he going to go with defense. He decided to go with defense, and Wright produced. You know what I'm saying? He made smart decisions with the ball. He proved that he can knock down the three, and obviously he's a defender. You know what I mean? And he's 6'5". So he
6'5". That
gives
to me,
you
that's
more
the biggest
length
thing.
on the ball. You know what I mean? Gives you another defender that you can use. So I was impressed with what he did. And he obviously proved Tom Thibodeau to be right and putting him in that starting lineup. And if he were to take that second unit position over campaign, I wouldn't be mad at all. You know what I mean? Because he seems to play under control. He's going to play within the offense. You know what I mean? And he's going to make smart decisions with the basketball. Yeah, I think that I actually agree with Shoto. I think that would be a good decision.
And I keep campaign on the bench, break in case of emergency. The guys are not hitting. You're down by 20, and you're in the third quarter. And you need somebody to give a shot in the arm that's gonna, bring some height, bring some energy, maybe get hot. All right, that's when to me right now. That's
Right.
when I need to use campaign at this point.
Right. Yeah. I like what Wright did.
Yeah.
He's stable.
The biggest thing, the biggest advantage with him for me was his size. You know what I mean? Like that's where he brought that different dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, cause you get the shooting from Deuce, you get the defense from Deuce, you get the defense from Cam. You know what I mean? Like, so I like that's why he was one of those bigger that's why I just went to him first as my standout, because honestly, you go from not playing, you know what I mean, to insert it into that starting lineup, especially when, we didn't speak, but I thought Kolek would have that chance to start as well, coming off of his good performances prior to Cam going out and everything else. So, yeah, to get that start and to manifest and play through it and earn it, those are the things that bring you right into Tim's wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he just unlocked the door.
Yeah.
I will say this though, I think it's still Cam's to lose. You know what I mean? It may be a short lease now that Tibbs has seen Wright do what he does in real game time. He might be quicker to make the sub. But I don't think he makes the change initially. You know what I mean? It would have to be like it'll probably be faster because it's the playoffs. But if he
Mhm.
makes it, it's gonna have to be Cam messed up a few times,
Right.
and he lost it. Um, Parrish Douglas says, shout again for the super chat. He said, coaching staff has to individually coach their stars. Cat needs constant instructions, focus to concentrate on what he has to do to be a winner. Um, I don't know if is that like a negative? I mean, I think we have the coaching staff to give the individual
No, but
attention to,
I
to
think
the
I think
stars.
I think some players though, pause. You got to ride them more than others. Some people are more self motivated versus people that need to have somebody chewing in their ear to get them going. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I think I agree with him. I think that Cat is a guy that you need to be, whether you're yelling or you're whispering, you need to be in his ear. You
Constantly.
know, yeah, he needs somebody like tapping consistently to keep him on his A1. And he doesn't seem like you can't talk to him, like he's not coachable and things like that. So I don't think it's really all a bad thing.
That's
And to his point, like every player is different, and not only do you have to coach them individually, you have to know how to motivate them
individual.
individually. And I know Sim's a coach. He's done it. I'm semi-retired, Coach Sim. Yeah, I mean, I might come back. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, but I've definitely been there. Some kids, you say one thing, you make them cry. The other kid, you
Exactly.
say something, they say, "Okay, coach, no problem, coach."
Right.
And Cash is one of those guys. I mean, I think he can be coached and they can talk to him tough. They can whisper to him and he's gonna listen. So I agree with that post.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing, well, not the only thing, like, you notice what Shuttle said, either, screaming or whispering in his ear, whichever one. As a coaching staff, you got to know how the players are going to react. Some players, if you scream at them, they're going to shut down and you're not going to get a performance. Some players, you just got to approach them differently. So you gotta know how to approach which player. You know what I mean? And how to push their buttons. Every player is not equal. So, when someone says, oh, you got to treat everybody the same, it's just not true. Every person's not the same. Every personality is not the same. So, you gotta figure out what ticks for that person. You know what I mean?
And correct me if I'm wrong. That's I mean you said it, Duggar. You said the coaching staff. I think we have enough
Mhm.
staff, different staff that we have somebody for Cat. Obviously we got somebody for Brunson. You know what I mean? We have somebody for everybody on the team. You know what I mean? And different people will do need different approaches. I appreciate the super chat. I just don't know if that was like a negative on Cat
I think it was
or
more a negative on the coaching staff.
mm,
That's what I think. I,
Like
I
they got
think,
to get on the job.
yeah, I think it was more, Tom Thibodeau don't coach the players individually. He coaches his style, but doesn't coach the players to their strengths or weaknesses. That's what I think he was trying to say.
Well, we got a good big man coach, Mark Bryant, former Portland Trailblazer. He was rough, he was tough, and he did his numbers back in the day. So I find it hard to believe that he's not talking to him on the bench and
Mhm.
in practice and these type of things. Maybe what doesn't seem so obvious to us doesn't necessarily mean it's not happening.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say about the head coach, though, if you're on a high school level, right, you're talking to every single player, right? When you get on a professional level, it's a little bit different. I mean, you're still talking to the players and you're having one-on-one conversations. But as the head coach now, it's got to be like, okay, here's these set of standards that I'm expecting everybody to operate within. Now you got your assistants that's going to be like, okay, let me figure out how I reach this guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a whole other host of responsibilities that a head coach has, especially on a professional level, that doesn't even have to do with the basketball game itself. You know what I'm saying? Like that person is, think of it in a job, that person is like a manager of a store. You know what I'm saying? And they gotta manage all the coaching staff and like evaluations, all that, all like they got all these other responsibilities that don't even have to do with coaching the basketball game. So, some of it, the assistants might be the one to have the relationship with the player.
Gets delegated.
It's
Mhm.
delegated. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They may have a relationship with the player to get certain things across. Now the player might say, I need to speak to Coach Tibbs though. And then that's a different situation. But the player, the coach, the staff is gonna have that relationship, a lot, not all the time, but they're gonna have a lot of relationships with the players.
But I think here that's the way it's designed anyway. I
Mhm.
think I think you look at the guys that have been brought in, even Mo Cheeks. You know what I mean? Like that bridges a gap for Tibbs now. You know what I mean? Him playing the position, him knowing the position, he could talk to these guys and break down and give more time to these guys individually, whether you're playing or not. Especially if you're not playing. You know what I mean? To give you pointers.
So can I put something up real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Paris said, anyone who keeps making the same mistakes, someone is dropping the ball. Tips is too busy, but that staff got to get the fine tuning done. But here's something that you got to understand though. Habits are more easily formed than broken.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a word.
No,
The bar.
That's a word.
yeah, it takes a long time to break a habit. You know what I mean? And sometimes you got to keep on coaching and coaching and coaching and teaching and teaching and teaching, showing when they did it right, showing when they did it wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually, as they practice it, they start to get it. And sometimes that doesn't happen in a season. Whatever it is that you're saying the coaching staff needs to teach, and if they are teaching it, it might take some time because you come from one team maybe where they had a certain style of basketball, defense, offense, or whatever it is. Now you go to and you've been there for your entire career, right? Or you've been with a coaching staff for 3 years, 4 years. You picked up habits under that team. You know what I'm saying? Because they were teaching something. Now you come to another team and they got to teach you something else. Your body, basketball. So much of basketball is about muscle memory, so that you don't have to think as much on the court, right? So when you've been drilled and drilled and drilled a habit, your body naturally does that without you even thinking about it. And you've got to consciously change that habit. It is not hard. It is not easy to break a habit. You know what I mean? So, it takes work.
And this is why I said in the beginning of the year we're not going to see this best team until next year, considering the ins and out. Knowing Mitchell Robinson was going to be gone at that time till December, we thought, what I mean, knowing all these guys, because I would assume even not just as a team, but even for individuals, guys coming in and out the lineup changes things that you know what I mean? It puts a hinder on something that you was learning throughout the year. You know what I mean? Makes you have to adjust to things when your personnel changes throughout the year. So,
Yeah. And you
um,
got how many new players is on the team that were bringing habits from other teams to this team? Now you got to get them all working on and building the same habits on how
and
they
breaking them individually and
yeah,
then picking up the ones collectively.
right.
Another for me, the biggest standout in Brunson's absence, and this is tough to attribute just to Brunson's absence, but it has a part to do with it. It's tough to, you know, credit all of Mitchell Robinson's arrival, but you can't take that away from it. But we've been seventh defensive ranked team in this stretch of Brunson's absence, and I think it's noticeable just watching the games how much the defense has improved. Um, but that is something that I hope we could bring with us into the postseason. Um, our defense looked pretty good for the most part last game with Brunson coming back. I think our defense was improving prior to Brunson getting hurt, and the same could be said about OG's ascension had started prior to Brunson getting hurt. So I'm hoping the defense can can translate and continue to transpire, trend in the right direction. I think we're 14th for the year,
Well,
which
I just looked it up. Currently 13th.
13th for the year.
Okay.
13th for the entire
So
season.
so that's a huge jump. You know what I mean? From where we were early in the year,
In the
where we were
20s.
where
In the
we were
20s.
projecting where we could reach. You know what I mean? By the end of the year, I think that's a huge jump. 13th, 4 games left. How much can we sustain it? Get better in those 4 games, whatever. But yeah, I think it can translate moving in to the playoffs because as time took, those teams tend to do, they get better as the season progresses. Even the previous years when we were top 10, we didn't start the year that way. You know what I mean? We had to grind our way into the top 10 defensively. And yeah, I think we could sustain a top 10 defense. But
Does it have anything to do with Brunson not being there? I guess I think that's got to
that
be a question.
that is, I think it has a little bit to do with it. But like I said, part of it, our defense was increasing before he went out. You know what I mean? So I can't attribute it all to Brunson not being there. Just like I can't give Mitch Robinson all the credit because those things coincided
Mhm.
with him
Right.
coming back and Brunson going out. But the defense was, before Robinson got back, the defense was still trending upward. You know what I mean? So I have to say it's still going to continue to trend upward, because that was the trend before Brunson went out and before Robinson came back, which happened to be relatively the same time. So I think we can. I think we can. The tricky part, though, is this has nothing to do with Brunson being out. This has everything to do with him coming back. Is 4 games, is that enough to kind of put it all together? You know what I mean? For this run. For me personally, I feel like we're probably going to continue to peak as the playoffs go on, and the further we get. I think the first round of the playoffs might not be uh our best showing. You know what I mean? I think we get out of it, but I think by the second round we start to look a lot better than we did in the first round. Considering Brunson coming back now, 4 games left, there are some adjustments that we have to still kind of mesh together. Brunson barely played with Mitch, right? Because him going down and Mitch coming back kind of coincided with each other. Last night was the first time he's seen this stretch really of OG. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's 20 plus points per game OG, not just the 20-point per game OG. I think it all helps, but we got to figure some things out. But the defense in itself, in his absence, what's your guys' thoughts on that? And then, do you agree it could transfer into the playoffs?
Tone, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm over here patiently waiting because you said a little bit, and I'm gonna say a little bit more than a little bit with Brunson. His defense is terrible. He's like Matador D. You know, what can you really say? And Mitch has actually gotten better and better as the games have gone on. And there's um, listen, nothing's impossible, but I can't imagine a case where Brunson comes back and the defensive rating continues to improve. I think it'll level off. It'll level off pretty much where it's at. Maybe be able to sustain where it's at. But as you go into the playoffs, especially, I'm kind of thinking a little bit past these last couple of games. Cleveland's got nothing to play for. They may be resting their players, similar for Boston. And the other two teams, the Nets aren't really that good. So, I mean, low key, I'm kind of almost not even counting these games. I'm really thinking about where the defensive rating is going to be in the playoffs.
We got the Pistons again too, right?
The Pistons, right? And they're gonna want the win. So that's really to me the only serious game remaining on the schedule. But here or there, I'm thinking more about the playoffs, and I just don't see a case where Brunson coming back is going to improve the defense. And we're not going to get a lot of Mitch and Towns playing together. To me, that's really only a deal that's going to happen against the Cavs, and maybe against Boston if you played Boston a little bit here or there. But I don't know. Mitch has been he's only 16 minutes a game, but his impact has been clear more and more on the court. I think OG's been, he's stepped up defensively. Bridges hasn't been amazing, but he's also stepped up defensively. And I just think as a team, Deuce played more minutes, so he's improving the defense. Wright's come in, a better defensive player. Precious has played more. So I just think it's not only Mitch, but collectively, I just think the entire team has stepped up, including players that have played in Brunson's absence.
I agree, but that's why I think it. To your point, it's sustainable at the very least. I'm not saying it's going to continue to get better because, I'm not saying that. But can we sustain this top 13? I think we could get to 10. And when I say get to 10, I mean like how many teams is in the playoffs? 16.
Right.
16.
Shoot, I think we could get to 7. I think we could stay 7.
See, my thing is, so I'm looking at just some our defensive ratings right now, and the month before Brunson went out, so February 6th to March 6th, our defensive rating was rated 24th in the league, or the 117.6 defensive rating, and our net rating was negative 6.2. So our offensive rating was just 111.5. We were 6-5 during that time. Now, when I go to the time that Brunson was out, then I'm gonna take this to April 5th. Our defensive rating was 110.2, and that's 6th in the league. And our offensive rating was 113.8. So we had a net rating of 3.6. We were 9-7 during that span. I don't know what to think. I'm not sure.
But that first segment, that first portion you referenced, isn't that our worst stretch of the whole year?
It might have been.
You know what I mean? So like that was our best record wise and all that. I think that was our worst stretch of the year. We had the two losing streaks in that stretch. 2 separate losing streaks.
From February 5th to March 6th.
That was the stretch you referenced?
Yeah, February 5th to March 6th. That's like the month before.
And our record was what? 6-9?
6-5.
6-5?
Record was 6-5. Okay. Our defensive rating, we was like 24th. We were rated 24th.
The defense wasn't trending in the right direction.
Yeah. I feel you.
So, hey, listen, I ain't telling nobody I don't want Brunson to come back and I don't want him to play. I ain't saying that nothing crazy like that. But but I ain't gonna talk about the facts. And the facts are what the facts is. You know what I mean? The defense is a whole lot better when he's not playing. And to think that him coming back is gonna, keep the defense at a level. I mean, there's also a lot of factors, right? It's like, all right, well, these 30 days, but what teams did you play in those 30 days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what other players on the team missed time as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of factors. But looking at it in the short window, we gotta just grit and bear it. We have more efficient offense that improves the defense. And that's my hope, as hopefully a pivot in the transition tone, is that what I saw in last night's game, just seeing Brunson played a little bit more of a backseat, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
He played a little bit more of a quarterback type of role versus, a running quarterback. he's like more of an in the pocket passer type of thing. The way he played yesterday, and
Don't
I
get
think,
your hopes up.
hey, listen,
And when he
you
did
can't argue. You can't argue with results and success. You can't
I,
argue with results and success. And listen, when you have to go dumb, listen, you go dumb out. I dig it. But when you see the way OG's been playing,
mhm.
like, I mean, Brunson's cool enough and smart enough and humble enough to be like, all right, my boy's getting busy. I gotta line him up. And I saw what it seemed like a level that I had not seen before with him and OG, where he was making sure that he got OG the ball.
I agree with that. I agree
And
with that 100%. I mean, part of that has to do with him watching, and you know what I mean, watching OG during this stretch. But I think more had to do with him just getting back. You know what I mean, and not wanting to disrupt it. For the most part, we were blowing the team out, so he didn't have that. I gotta step up. 34 minutes, 9 shots. We probably not gonna see that again from Brunson. You know what I mean? This year, to be honest, like that's what I'm saying. So what I will say though is the more OG plays like this, the more Mikal steps up, the more because Cat had a great game as well. Like the more everybody can play to their potential, the less we need from him. So I agree with you in that sense. But Brunson, yeah, 30, like he only took 9 shots. He spoke after the game about his confidence and just being comfortable, and you know what I mean. So to me, that was just an outlier. Brunson gonna be Brunson.
yeah. When it comes down to it, Brunson is gonna, yeah.
Shout out to Paris Duggar. He said our record. Appreciate the super chat. Our record, the only record that matters is 0-12. My only argument will be 0-6. Right, Boston and the Cavs. Because if we gotta play them other teams, that means we in the finals, baby.
Finals.
So, but I agree. I agree. We
you know what record matters to me? 0-0 when the playoffs start.
Word.
Because everything else that happened ain't gonna mean nothing when the playoffs start. 0-0. That's the record that matters most. What you did in the regular season means nothing today.
Right.
I mean, and we've been a testament to that on on the other side where we beat the Hawks. We swept the Hawks before they beat us in the playoffs.
Terrible. Let's not talk about that. Let's move on.
I mean, it's just facts is facts. You know what I mean? See, Daz, appreciate the super chat. He said, "Is OG unlocked or on a hot streak?" I feel like he.
Great question. Great question.
I think his mindset has changed. I'm gonna say unlocked. I think he knows with the aggressiveness. I think he sees that changes everything in his game. I can't see him reverting back.
I hope not. I'm not sure yet. I just want to see him do it with Brunson there.
Because
and he don't have to be the leading scorer, 28 a game. Just get your 20 to 22 points. And it's going to be up to Thibodeau and Brunson too to give him the ball and let him do his thing.
I feel like he's been trending towards this all year. Like he's been trying to adapt to this bully ball philosophy all year, and I think he had to find his footing in it. You know what I mean? My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, Sim.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just gotta just see it happen. With the full team there to say, yeah, it's unlocked. You know what I mean? I hope so though, because he's been playing great basketball.
Okay, so we saying it's unlocked when Brunson's not playing, to be determined when Brunson is playing.
I mean, I think that he knew he had to step up because we've seen him do it before.
Mm-hmm.
When people were out last season. He knew he had to step up, but then when everybody comes back, he would kind of revert back to, all right, I'm gonna wait to see what you do. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see if did his mindset. I think it's his mindset unlocked, not his talent, his mindset to be. I'm one of these three. It's not Brunson and Cat, and then me and McCall. No, it's Brunson and Cat and me, and then there's McCall and Josh Hart and such and such. You know what I'm saying? That mentality to say I'm one of the big three on this basketball team. I need the ball. I need the ball so I can get us some buckets. I think that's the switch. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
That aggressiveness, that assertiveness.
I think that it's just it's part of his just who he is and his makeup as a man. Probably some
Mhm,
influence on how he was raised. Kind of, you
Agree.
know, don't be too aggressive and when you're in the world, be humble, be polite, fit
mhm,
in, family and community first versus me. You know what I mean? And this part of being a dog in the NBA where like you have to be like, yo, I am him, I am the big dog,
mhm.
and the only way to unlock it on that kind of level is to go out there with that attitude. And I think it's unlocked, man, because I mean it's little things like
Hmm.
when I see him even talking to a referee now, like listen, like not I'm OG and I'm an OG. You're gonna have to respect me. Like you didn't see the play. I'm like, oh, OG's talking to referees now. Okay, so now we've unlocked even how he is viewing himself. You know what I'm saying? Because like Sim's talking about like unlocking your aggressiveness in your approach, but it's also how you look in the mirror at who you are,
Mhm.
and saying like, "Yo, I am him," and he's letting the
And,
referees know I'm him.
and
So
to
I'm
your to
yeah,
your point, Shadow, if you watched the last couple of post game interviews, he's kind of had that energy. You know what I mean? Like no, I knew I could do this. Like I'm just being myself. Is I think Alan Hahn asked him like what has changed other than being aggressive. You know what I mean? That's been his key word in the last couple of post games. Other than that, he keeps saying like I knew I could do this. I've been doing this. You know what I mean? Like this is what I do. I didn't change my game. I didn't change. You know what I mean? I just
Mhm.
became
but
more assertive.
So it's
just
just him. It's
just
just
to wrap up though, on for C Dad's comment, unlocked a hot streak. Now OG has averaged 27.6 points in the last 10 games. I don't necessarily think that's realistic with Brunson back on the team or necessary. So just kind of so we're on the same page, I think he's unlocked in terms of a
20
mentality and an aggressiveness that he could play with. And maybe where before he was at maybe 15, 16, maybe now he lands at like 19, 20, 20, 21, something like that. And it fits in with the whole collective
scheme.
of
Yep.
the team.
yeah. I just hope I'm praying that his mindset has changed. Who said it? I think Nas said it. Everybody's a Don until a Don walks in the room, right? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. Okay, Brunson is out. Boom. I got to do this. I got to do that. Okay, now he's back. He's gonna have the ball in his hands. Does he fade to the corner or does he continue to you know take it upon himself in moments, to
And
be that.
it's easy to say this on the side, but you know, just as a comparison, Sim, in this DJ world, like I've definitely been in a room and some bigger names have walked in, and instead of just going dumb, I kind of felt like I had to, what I mean? I had to just,
Yeah.
and I had a promoter one night, yo, Sutter, what you doing?
You
Yo,
can't outshine such and such.
no, 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 no. It was actually the opposite. It was so and so was. I was like, so and so is coming. I was trying to just keep it cool, set the tone. Yo, man, stop playing. Go in and play them records. You understand what I'm saying? So it's more real than people think. If you haven't been in a situation where you really really needed to be him like that, you kind of just talking. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna tell you, I've been on both sides of it. from the basketball world to the DJ world, and it definitely, it takes some, like it takes some confidence. Like you gotta really talk to yourself and really get yourself to the to that spot. And kudos to OG though for showing us who he is. And I mean, he balled out in the playoffs. So
Mhm.
based on what he did last playoff season, based on what he's doing right now, I'm convinced OG's unlocked. Sim.
Right.
I agree, and I think the good thing about it is, even though he's carried us in stretches, it's never felt like he carried us like Brunson. You know what I'm saying? It never felt like it was like, all right, give him the ball and let him go to work. Maybe in the last 2 games, because he's been on such a tear, it's been like, all right, let's keep feeding him. But it's never been like, yo, OG, get us out this situation. You know what I mean? Everything's been within the flow of the offense. The aggressiveness has really been internal in his moves, in his actions.
And please, Tone, let me add.
But
Also, his defense has not that it was bad, but the defense is better, and he's getting so many points off of his deflections and
that's a
fast
fact.
breaks that he's getting like what we would call easy baskets.
Yes.
So he doesn't have to maybe labor as hard as Brunson with some of those shots. So sometimes I look, I'm like, dang, he got 30 already.
Yep.
Oh, he got 28 already. Like it's been kind of like that because he's getting a lot of his points are coming off of defensive aggressiveness. So it's not only offensive aggressiveness. He's just more aggressive out there as a whole.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it.
Let me get to these super chats, and then I'll let you guys add anything you think. Paris Duggar, appreciate it again with the super chat. He says Danny Advia dropped his shoulder 8 times on OG's chest, and OG learned something that has just made him an all-star instantly. Now OG has the Euro power drive. That's a fair assessment.
Yo, I kind of like that move too. I know that guy that move that guy got that shoulder. I'm like, okay,
That's a
he
fair assessment.
yeah. Nah, he definitely brought the smoke with that shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was killing us. And,
Nah, he been killing a lot of teams.
yeah, he's probably the most improved player in my opinion. I don't know if he wins it. Again, Paris Duggar, appreciate you. When Cat learns to euro through defenders' bodies on his drives for calls, we win a chip. Do combo training, baseball, basketball, and football. You teach to win. You know what I like about what you're saying is, or what I'll acknowledge is, Cat does seem to avoid more contact than go to it. So you're saying like if he kind of adapts OG's philosophy, because OG's going through contact, and I think that's what's changing things for him. I don't know if Cat is going to do that though.
I don't
He
know.
has all the Euro steps and everything in his arsenal, but to me, most of the time it's avoiding contact. Not to the level of a Mikal Bridges, but what's your thoughts, Sam?
I think Cat doesn't have, I don't know. He can play aggressive, but he doesn't always show the maybe the lower body strength. Like even when he's posting up,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? He doesn't show this great lower body strength that can push his defender out the way. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you're gonna see him lowering his shoulder, to knock guys back. Maybe smaller guys, he does it too. Bigger, tough guys. I never see him and command his space. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's intimidation, or what.
And if I could add, I don't think I don't think what you're saying is a knock. Because I think he knows how to score in the space that he has. You know what I mean? Like he still knows how to score without necessarily bumping and grinding paws down there.
Easy.
but but I do agree with Paris Douglas' sentiment. If he could figure out a way to adopt some of that, it definitely will only be a strength. It'll only help.
Right.
Anything else?
And he might even get to the line more.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think why he doesn't get calls, because he does get hit, is because he's trying to be elusive.
Right.
And a lot of times that's aggression is what gets you the calls. Look at OG's free throw numbers in this stretch, which is another thing. That's one of the main things I hope he continues. But I mean, we could rapid fire a couple other things that stood out. It seems like Shamit has found his shot like consistently, and you know what I mean. Like he's knocking down his shots. He's becoming. It looks like he's comfortable. He looked like he belongs on the team. This is the longest stretch that I think he's been shooting the ball well.
Right.
Kind of since since the McHale comment. To be honest, if you want to correlate something, anything else that just stood out, but in the stretch.
Not really for me.
I think McHale's been solid. You know what I mean? Like he's reached at the very least a level of consistency.
Mhm.
The I mean, he did have I think a 3-point game or 2-point game, but those are far and few in between now. Where it's not like a bad stretch for McHale. You might get a bad game. And before we get out of here, because I know we got Queen's Court. What's your standout game of the year? I know I accidentally shuttered some of my notes earlier. But if you could think of a game this year that just stood out the most to you.
Wow, I don't.
Or a moment. You know what I mean? It could be an individual moment in a game or a game in itself.
Sim, while you ponder, I'm just gonna say, respectfully, there really hasn't been a quote unquote big signature win per se because, as you got 50 wins and none of them are against the top four teams, or the top three teams rather, in the league. The Denver win I thought was great, but considering that Brunson was out, Bridges hitting that three for the win, I'd have to say, is for me probably the biggest moment of the team for the season. From a celebration standpoint, from a memorable standpoint, when I think of this season, Bridges 3-point shot, the celebration, everybody coming together, Brunson being out, not needing to go down and lose, to a Portland team not headed for the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. I just that comes to me instantly.
I feel like that was after two, if not one, if not two bad losses. I
It
think that
definitely,
that
definitely at least one, if not two, for
I
sure.
think that's either stopped the losing streak or stopped us losing 2 in a row. So that was huge.
I just don't know if there's a standout moment for me or game. I don't know because we haven't had any signature wins. In my opinion,
That's true.
So there were 3 losses to Golden State, LA, and the Clippers. There was a win over Sacramento first before the Portland
Before the
game.
Portland game, okay.
Right, but you had those 3 consecutive losses before that Sacramento win.
Still had that bad taste.
Yeah, that road trip. That's you got the road trip, and you get the last game in the road trip with Golden State after that.
Can you? So I don't know where this game fell, but I think this was another one in the after some losses, but that Nets win where Brunson hit the 3, put us up 2. We was down 1. Brunson hit the 3, and then it was like, I don't know, seconds left. Nets had the ball. Schroeder drove, and Mikal got the block for the win. Like they could have tied. They could have tied it. You know what I mean? If Schroeder made the layup, but Mikal got the block. And then the other one is the Mikal block, game saving block. I forgot who that was against, but that was against a big. Final play of the game. The big went up, and Mikal got the block.
That's what I'm remembering. That's the one I'm remembering. Yeah.
So those are just a few of them that kind of.
That was Portland also.
That was Portland also. That was against who was the big?
I thought it was Klingman.
Okay.
Yeah, and that Nets game was early in the season.
Okay. But yeah, just a couple of standouts, man. I'm excited. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad you guys tuned in. Sim, Shuttle, glad you guys pulled up. You know what I mean?
And I just want to my last note I want to just share with you guys. You know, I get out, I'm outside, you know, and it's not specific to you, Tone, or you, Sim, but it's part of the MBK family. I did an event this Saturday in Poughkeepsie, and the lady says to me, "Hey, you're DJ Shuttle. You do Knicks podcast with Dope Soul Sports, don't you?" And I said, "You're absolutely right. I sure do." It said, "Oh man, I can't believe it. So good to meet you. I love it. Yo, I knew you said you was a DJ, but now I see at the party you really a DJ. Oh wow." You know what I mean? So listen, Tone, listen, Sim. I already hit Queen. I told her earlier today. So listen, man. You know, it's just like you do the work, and you know it definitely pays off, man. The people out here, they appreciate it, and when you meet people in the real world like that, you know it's an additional solidification. And just want to tell you guys, man, definitely keep going doing what you're doing, and glad to be a part of it.
That's love, man. That's love. Appreciate you as well, man. Let me jump over to Queen's Crown. I know I'm late. Sim, appreciate you. Let me know what you're doing later. I'll be on there with you. You know what I mean? Shuttle, always appreciate you. I'm in a new crib now, so once I get settled, you know what I mean, I'm gonna have a little spot designated. Got the logo up, the flag up. We doing some things. I got some things ordered, so it's probably gonna be 2 weeks though. I gotta unpack and everything else, but
yeah,
once I'm settled, we in here. We
right in time for the playoffs.
Right in time. Oh, until next time, your Blackest Time replay.
Let's get these watch parties together. Let's go.
Oh,
Peace.
Appreciate you. Super chat. Peace out. You heard the man. We out. There we go. End stream.